Most people think meditation ends when the timer goes off, but it doesn't. And this is one critical reason that people find meditation so frustrating and their progress is so slow. According to both ancient and modern masters of meditation, what you do between sessions is just as important as the sessions themselves. In this video, I'm going to cover 3 key pieces of advice from the essence of the vast and the profound. A text on meditation and the stages of the path to enlightenment written by a cave-dwelling yogi named Venerable Pabongka Rinpoche. On a personal note, Pabongka Rinpoche taught Trijong Rinpoche, who taught my heart mentor, who in turn, before he passed away, taught me. I'm Dr. Jared Jones. My research covers ancient meditation practices, the cognitive science of meditation, and the philosophy of science. I've trained in meditation almost every day for 20 years, and for the last 10, I've poured my heart and soul into trying to figure out how to make the most profound types of meditation more accessible to everyday people. So let's look at these 3 pieces of advice from Pabongka Rinpoche. Point number 1. Reduce unhelpful and dysfunctional thoughts and emotions. Now, I can already hear some of you going, well, wait a minute, isn't that what meditation is supposed to? Yes. Hang in there. Consider this analogy. Imagine you had back pain. So you started going to the gym 7 days a week for 30 minutes. But after 3 months of hard work, genuine effort, you still had back pain. So you go to a physical therapist. And the physical therapist starts asking you these questions that don't make any sense to you, like, what do you do for work? When you're relaxing, what posture do you normally sit in on the couch? Do you sleep curled up in a pretzel at night? Why is the physical therapist asking you all these questions? Because 30 minutes a day can't fix 23 hours a day of abusing your body. On the other hand, if you spend 23 hours a day, your everyday stance, your everyday way of laying, your everyday way of relaxing, improving the posture of your spine, well, now these 30 minutes you're putting in at the gym every day are really going to start paying off. And as they pay off and reduce your pain and stabilize your spine, likewise, all of that work that you're doing in real life is going to benefit what you can do at the gym. And it starts a virtuous cycle. Similarly, you can't expect to make much progress in meditation if you spend 30 minutes a day meditating and 23 and a half hours in sheer chaos. Pabongka Rinpoche says, the session breaks are very important. If you let your mind become engaged in whatever happens to come along during the session breaks, you will demolish what little progress you have so carefully made during the session. Your everyday posture of emotional hygiene or emotional regulation greatly affects what you can accomplish in meditation. My heart mentor, himself a greatly accomplished lay practitioner, gave me this advice. You practice things in meditation so that you can train your mind in real life. How do you take the other 23 hours of the day and make them less chaotic? Trigger warning, this will be difficult for some of you to handle. Please stay with me, I promise it will be worth it. Let me make it clear why ethics is important with an illustration. Imagine you got a job, but you lied on the application. Now, as you do the job, every day you wake up sick to your stomach. Are you going to get an email that they found that lie? Every time someone starts a conversation that doesn't smell quite right, you wonder, have they found out? So even if no one ever finds out, you have to live with the weight of that lie. And furthermore, if somebody finds out, well, now people are going to be angry, you might get fired. Maybe they hold it over your head and just keep you on the job, but you know that they're looking for somebody else or training somebody else, they just can't fire you yet. Looking inside, you're struggling with anxiety when you wake up, before you go to bed, etc. And now this fear is going to stop you from being able to enter a deep state of concentration when you try to do your daily meditation. So ethics is incredibly important if you want to make progress in meditation, because without ethics, your external life will be chaos and your internal emotional life will also be chaos. Shantideva, who's quoted in Pabongka Rinpoche's texts, states, "A crazy, untamed elephant in this world cannot inflict the same kind of harm as the wild elephant of the mind." So, your everyday posture of ethics, your ethical fortitude, your ability to be straight up and down supports your practice of meditation. And likewise, your practice of meditation, which allows you to observe your mind and calm your mind and regulate your emotions, allows you to be more upstanding and so forth in the world. And therefore, these two activities support each other. And that's not the only relationship of ethics to meditation, but it's the one that I wanted to cover today. The second way to reduce negative emotions between sessions, Pabongka Rinpoche describes as using rumination meditation to overcome our ordinary negative mental states. For those of you who are not familiar, the Lamrim tradition, the stages of the path, is an elaborate set of instructions that includes contemplative exercises that generate each of the intentions, motivations, mental states, and understandings that a person would require to traverse the entire Buddhist path to enlightenment. So, for example, amongst the first subjects of rumination in the Lamrim tradition is the preciousness of a human rebirth. A it's a gratitude practice on steroids, making you feel that you have this incredible, beautiful, wonderful opportunity to train your mind and be a human being. How incredible that is. And then the next subject is death and impermanence. Realizing that you only get a limited time to make this incredible life into something really meaningful. As such, Pabongka Rinpoche recommends, if you're working on these rumination meditations that are from the Lamrim tradition, that between sessions you continue to consume material that enhances the work that you're doing on the cushion for that particular subject. So, what is this process by which we transform our attitudes, motivations, and understandings of the world? I call this rumination meditation. It's sometimes called analytic meditation. It is a process of thinking through something and gathering evidence from direct observation, from authority, and from logic to change how it is you think about something or feel about something. Here's Pabongka Rinpoche. Using logic and reason, as well as scriptural references, to repeatedly meditate with analysis from all sides and every angle is analytic meditation. Moreover, this is analogous to thinking over the number of times that someone, such as our enemy, has caused us harm. And as we do so, our anger and so forth greatly increase. When we do so, we are engaged in analytic meditation on attachment, hatred, ignorance, and so forth. Likewise, when we repeatedly engage in analytic meditation by moving the mind through proper reliance on the spiritual guide and so forth, this analytic meditation greatly increases the power of our mind. When you do rumination meditation, which I talk about in my course below under Foundation 5, you transform your everyday attitude about various things, which then improves the quality of your mind all day long. And this helps bridge your morning session, for example, with your evening session, so that in between, your mind is still maintaining a good quality, let's say, rather than just entering chaos. The third aspect of reducing unhelpful and dysfunctional thoughts and emotions between meditative sessions is my personal advice to you after 20 years of practice. I've found it highly, highly effective for lay people in particular to do body scanning meditation. The reason for this is it has a huge amount of cognitive research behind it. It's extremely effective, and the benefits of doing body scanning meditation last a lot longer than simply working with your mind only with breath practice, for example. I talk about this in much greater detail in the course below. On page 231 in Pabongka Rinpoche's text, just in passing, he provides the second piece of advice. Keep your meditation topic in mind. So, for example, if you're training in body scanning meditation, which I don't recommend you do if you're operating heavy machinery or driving a car, the rest of your day at least, You can, from time to time, do a quick body scan at whatever level you can to refresh your nervous system in that type of practice between the time that you did your practice in the morning, for example, and you do your practice in the evening. If you were working on a meditation topic in the Lam Rim, then you would continue to refresh that meditative practice throughout the day. For example, you could read inspiring biographies during your lunch break at work about practitioners who became highly accomplished by relying upon practices like contemplating the preciousness of a human rebirth. Or you could just do small sessions where you're doing aspects of that gratitude practice throughout the day. Therefore, when you got to the next session, your mind would still be marinating in some of the results from the first session you did. And therefore, we're creating this virtuous loop that we talked about before. Let's quickly recap the first 2 points. You can reduce harmful and disturbing thoughts and emotions by doing 3 relatively easy things. Number 1, practice ethics. That's the easiest thing to do. Number 2, you can train in rumination meditation that creates new attitudes so that your mind is less disturbed. Number 3, you can do some practice that is easier to carry over into real life, like body scanning meditation, so that you can bring more of the emotional regulation benefits of your practice off the cushion and into real life activities. Secondly, we talked about keeping your meditation object in mind, which means you consume materials that enhance whatever practice you're working on, and you continue to do whatever practice you're doing as best you can throughout the day. Thus, you bridge the practice that you're doing in the morning with the next session you're doing in the evening or the following morning. Now let's look at Pabongka Rinpoche's third piece of advice. Appropriate diet and sleep patterns. You should not eat as much as you possibly can. You should eat the correct proportion by dividing your stomach into 4 sections. 2 sections should be filled with fluid. 1 portion should be filled with food. And 1 portion should be left empty to allow for the movement of air, i.e., to allow for digestion to occur. We should not eat as much as we possibly can. Otherwise, food will naturally cause our awareness to become unclear. We should contemplate the faults that come from sleeping too much, and so forth. Searching for food, partaking of food, begging for food, and so on. We should put an end to our attachment to food by observing its faults. We should consider food as medicine for the purpose of prolonging the life expectancy of our body for the sake of practicing the Dharma. In other words, for the sake of training our mind. Generally speaking, the Buddha recommends the middle way. Don't eat so much that your mind becomes dull and cloudy. Don't eat so little that you don't have the energy to do your practice. Now let's talk about sleep. Pabongka Rinpoche says, it is permissible to sleep in the middle period of the night. Due to our overindulgence, we try our best to sleep all night and past dawn. Don't overdo it with your sleep. If you're sleeping too much and your mind is cloudy, you won't be able to train in virtue. You won't be able to train in meditation. In general, sleep is a neutral and changeable mental factor. Therefore, whatever virtuous and unvirtuous thought processes you develop just before falling asleep will also transform the nature of your thought processes throughout the entire time you are asleep. So in general, before you go to bed, try to generate some of these ruminations from the stages of the path tradition, or try to do your body scanning meditation, or try to consume something wholesome, virtuous, enriching before you fall asleep. And in that way, your dream life will continue to support the training that you're doing while you're awake. And eventually, if you want to do more advanced forms of practice that involve dreams and dreamless sleep, you can do that also. If you're finding this material valuable, I am trying to start doing this full time, so please do hit the like, subscribe, leave comments with your own questions and concerns about meditation down below, and I am very active in answering them. I'm going to tell you a story now to draw these 3 points into focus and really lock it into your mind. Why what you do between meditation sessions is so important to training in meditation. It's 5 a.m. on a Friday. You're clocking out at work. However, something's wrong. Miss Carrington from HR is waving you over. They found that lie on your application. So you go home, you stay up till some ungodly hour in the morning, you eat a whole pizza by yourself, and you skip your evening meditation practice. Unfortunately, your best friend is throwing a birthday brunch bash on the beach, and you can't miss it. So you get up early and you skip your morning practice. By the time you get to the evening, your mind is a wreck. You don't have any food in the house because you've been running from place to place all day, so you have ice cream for dinner. You sit down to do your practice, you're tired, you've eaten a whole bunch of ice cream, you've been running around all day completely hectic, and your life is now in chaos and you don't know what to do. How do you think that meditation session is going to go? Not very well. Now consider a second scenario. You woke up early that morning before you went to work. You did your practice. You had already had a good night's sleep. You had a reasonable breakfast. And at lunchtime, you did a little bit of body scanning meditation just to refresh the work you had done during the morning session. You didn't lie on your application, and you work pretty hard at work. So, just like any other Friday, you get off work and you go home. On the way home, you remember to get the groceries because you're not freaking out about having lost your job. You have a reasonable dinner. You sit down and you do your evening practice of body scanning, and it goes fairly well because you have kept that practice going throughout the day and your life is not in chaos. You wake up the next morning and do that practice. Having consumed something wholesome before bed, even your dreams are supporting the practice that you're trying to do in the morning. And when you do that practice, it's even better than the two previous sessions. After hanging out with your friend, you go home, you study a bit more about how do you do body scanning, how do you do it really well, what are some examples of people that have done this really well and what results did they get, etc. And when you sit down for the evening session, it works even better. And like this, time goes on, days and days, weeks and weeks, years and years, and you make genuine progress on the path of training and meditation. That's why what you do between sessions is so important to meditation. This is part of an ongoing series connected to my Facebook group, which is in my links somewhere. If you'd like to contact me and reach out to me, do that on Facebook. If you'd like to train a little bit more hardcore in this, grab the link below. If you'd like to keep up with what's happening next in this series of teachings based upon the essence of the vast and the profound, subscribe and leave any comments or questions you have down below. I'm Dr. Jared Jones. Thank you for tuning in, and I hope to see you again soon.